I wake up. Yeah. Last night was, kind of weird. At least, we didn't, take advantage of, any underage girls, or, well, I guess in Japan they wouldn't be, but, any girls that are at least, not even half our age. My head hurts. I was up drinking all night with Misaki. Hey, wake up. I kick Misaki, who's lying next to me. Misaki gets up with a weird noise. I really couldn't even replicate that noise he just made. Oh, good morning. It's already noon. When was the train? It was the Hokuriku going to Fukui at 8. The Hokuriku is a region of Japan west of Tokyo, including the Niigata, Toyama, Ishikawa, and Fukui prefectures. Then you'd better head back to the office and gather your things. You've got stuff you need, right? Please reimburse me for the tickets then. Damn, he remembered. I was hoping he'd forget. Give me the receipt. Man, I don't even know how much Yaginuma's gonna approve. These numbers hurt. The police won't pay the full sum? They'll pay some of the investigation costs, but how much depends on how Mr. Superintendent feels. He won't pay up unless we come up with something beneficial to him. Here. I hand Misaki several 1,000 yen bills. So we could be working for free. I don't even know if I'll be able to pay your salary. Oh hey, I could just not, couldn't I? Please pay me. I have to find a place to stay, don't I? Hey, that's your punishment for putting all your affairs in order and planning on dying. I suppose you're right. Misaki mutters, standing up. I'll go back for now then. We can meet in front of Ueno Station, right? Yeah, that's fine. Kill some time before then. Got it. Misaki leaves the room. Well, I've got some more preparing to do myself. Very important work I need to be doing right now. Like recovering from a hangover. Misaki returns to the office after doing a little shopping. He stuffs clothes into his bag and prepares for his trip. Yukari's gift was a scarf. He packs that into the bag too, and puts the handkerchief from Tokisaka into his pocket. He lies down on the couch. He's feeling down. This doesn't feel like a homecoming. The last time he was in his hometown, he killed Saya and then fled from it. He doesn't want to see anyone from there, but he won't get away with that. There's what happened to Meguri too. They must have learned of her death by now. He heard that her body is still in Tokyo. She probably hasn't had a funeral yet. He doubts his mood will improve anytime soon. Maybe he should just run away. He's even thinking thoughts like that. He's well aware that running away now won't solve anything. Tokisaka and Yaginuma would undoubtedly come after him. After all, it's clear now that he's deeply involved with these murders. Hina-sama, huh? His past is being toyed with by some unknown entity. No, it's the present for that settlement. He may still be captive by it himself. Misaki sits up and heads over to the desk. It's covered by all sorts of documents relating to Tokisaka's investigations. Should he bring these too? It doesn't look like he's done much research on Hina-sama. Of course, Misaki doesn't know much about it either. As the future head of the Hinagami family, he was supposed to learn someday, but he fled long before that. He doesn't regret it naturally. What he regrets is having to return now that these atrocities are occurring. If he knew more about this, perhaps he could have explained things. So he thinks, but he decides right away that he still probably wouldn't have talked. He's sure he would have tried to get away with pretending he didn't know. After all, that's all he's done until now. What's this? He finds a document on a past case. One that occurred in 1951, known as the Senri Incident. This must be the case whose resolution Yaginuma and Aokitoji were involved in. It looks like this document was created last year. It's heavily detailed with things like an outline of the case, the backgrounds of the victims, and the aim of the perpetrator. In the case outline, Misaki spots a description of the founder of Senri and his eyes go wide. The man who founded Senri's predecessor, the Congregation of the Blessed, was named Shigusa Michio. Shigusa. Is this a coincidence? A relative of the Shigusa family founded a religious group in Tokyo. Is Hina-sama related to this? He flips through the documents. The leader of Senri was called the Holy Prophet. She increased the ranks of their followers with infallible prophecies. That's not something Hina-sama's Miko does. Was it altered, or an entirely new concept? He'll have to ask Tokisaka later. Misaki gathers up the documents and stuffs them into his bag. He should get going to Ueno soon. Yeah, more references back to Cartagena. Are you ready, Nissan? Yeah, I'm good. Don't worry. I reply a little exasperatedly when Yukari asks me the same question for the umpteenth time today.
But it's cold over by the Sea of Japan, isn't it?
I'm not going to be marching through the snow or anything. It'll be fine if I wear some thick clothes, right?
Perhaps, but... Oh, that's right. Do you have your handkerchief?
I'm not a child. I show her the handkerchief I bought yesterday.
I packed you a lot of socks, so change them right away if they get wet, okay?
I know. How much worrying is it going to take to satisfy her? Normally, I should be the one worrying about leaving my sister home. If anything happens, tell Kyoko, okay?
Yes, I know. And if anything happens to you, please call Nissan.
I'm starting to feel like there'll be no end to this. Okay, I'm gonna get going then.
Alright. Oh, that's right.
Is there more?
Wait just 1 second.
Yukari says and returns to her room. There's seriously more? She comes right back.
It's a bit late, but here.
Gloves? She hands me a pair of leather gloves. Gloves?
It's a Christmas present.
Ah, thanks, Yukari.
Of course. Be careful on your trip.
I slip my new gloves on and leave the house. 7:30 p.m. I leave the station and look around. I find Masaki among the end-of-the-year crowd and approach him. You're early. Well, I was hungry, Masaki says and holds up something steaming. What is that? Leftovers. They were cheap. Masaki points at the old man gloomily making takoyaki like always. The stand has a flyer up advertising holy yaki with special price scribbled onto it. Want some? They're a little sweet with cream on them though. Nah, I'm good. They're leftovers from yesterday? I think I'd get a stomachache. I'm gonna get some soba. That seems much safer. A bummed stomach on a night train isn't my idea of a good time, but this guy doesn't seem too concerned. Soba sounds good too. How carefree. I guess he's just pretending though. That's the impression I get. He has a lot of ties in his hometown that make it difficult for him to act normally. There's one thing I'm nervous about. It's Misaki, Hinagami Aito, suddenly showing up in the Hitogata settlement and getting arrested right away. The statute of limitations hasn't expired on the murder he committed yet. He isn't wanted nationwide or anything, but who knows what will happen in the place where the crime was committed. We should probably try to hide his identity as best we can. Well, you can hide his identity, but you can't hide his face. I'm pretty sure Inui would probably try to come after him. I don't know about it. Pretty much everybody else, though, would probably just kind of look the other way. There's somewhere where we can stay over there, right? Yes, it's called the Futami Inn, though it's more on the scale of a guest house than an inn. Then we should book a room for 2. Is it crowded this time of year? I never saw it crowded once when I lived there. Then we should be fine without a reservation, as long as they accept outsiders. What are you doing in this village, outsider? You must leave. I can stay there too? Well, Masaki Tomoyuki can't very well stay at the Hinagami house, can he? Right, thank you. Want to disguise yourself so they don't find out while we're at it? You could buy some American Army sunglasses at Ameyoko. That would just make me more conspicuous. Yeah, just get him like a fake mustache or something. You could switch clothes with the old man over there. They might look pretty good on you. No way. Come on, we don't have much time. Let's go. You won't have enough time to eat your soba at this rate. I tease Misaki from behind him as he walks off with his luggage, and I follow him through the ticket gate up to the platform. Oh, a story by Katsuragi Shin. The Sleep of Purgatorio, Katsuragi Shin. 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep, 4. A black shadow whispered on and on. The words weren't an invitation to sleep. The shadow was whispering to a girl lying on the ground with her eyes closed. The girl's eyelids moved a little bit. There was a creaking noise. When the girl's eyes opened, she looked up at the black shadow. It was a sheep. Its head was covered in wool. Its horns were twisted. Its long, flattened pupils stared down at her. The girl gasped and looked around. She was surrounded by unfamiliar scenery. She was on the shore of some island, and in the center of the island towered a steep mountain. "Where might I be?" the girl asked, staring at the sheep's eyes, artificial looking like glass marbles. If it were a normal sheep, it would have never understood her words. However, the girl asked the sheep before her, for she knew that it had been the one whispering to her as she lay on the ground with her eyes closed. Sure enough, the expressionless sheep moved its mouth as if feeding on grass and responded in a stern voice unimaginable from its appearance. "Welcome to the land of Purgatorio." "Purgatorio?" asked the girl. "Is that the name of this island?" The sheep rose without an answer. From the ground, the girl could only see its black legs. They were unmistakably human legs. I'm just imagining this. This sounds kind of terrifying, actually. The girl attempted to rise after the sheep, but she couldn't move as she wanted to. Looking down at her stiffened body, the girl screamed. The girl's body had become that of a wooden doll. Grains of wood adorned her bare feet, which shined as if her crafter had polished her many times. Wooden balls had been inlaid in her elbows and knees to serve the function of her joints. She couldn't move as she wanted to because they were grinding against her arms and thighs. The creak she had heard when she opened her eyes was the sound of her own body moving. "What happened to my body?" asked the girl to the sheep man. "And who exactly am I?" "I'm sure you will come to learn those things." It wasn't the sheep man who had answered. An angel had descended from above the girl at some point. "What do you mean, angel?" asked the girl to the angel fluttering about in the sky. "First, you must overcome 6 trials," the angel answered solemnly. "But before that, you must wrap rushes around your waist and wash your face. It is necessary if you are to be accepted into Eden." "I understand, angel." The girl spurred on her stiffened body and headed for the shore. She washed her face and wrapped the rushes growing there around her waist. Afterward, she felt her creaking body move easier. "Now, let us go to the summit of Purgatorio." The sheep man began to walk before the wooden girl. I wonder if that story has anything to do with what's happening right now. Maybe it has something to do with Satsuki. I'm guessing it must have something to do with Satsuki. Satsuki or Yukiko, possibly. At sunset, gray clouds cover the sky, and closer to midnight, snow starts falling. Yukiko watches the snow fall through clouded glass. Her namesake falls to the ground from the sky. It touches roofs, it touches walls, windows, the ground, and it melts away. But eventually, the ground is dyed white and the snow takes root, unmelting. Most of the snow is sacrificed to achieve that. Atop many sacrifices is Yukiko. She sets her book down on her desk. Tomorrow is the closing ceremony. After she goes to school tomorrow, the year will be over. She won't have any classes until the opening ceremony on January 6th, next year. It's about a 10-day break. Until now, she's had no idea what to do with breaks. For all the time she didn't have class, she merely had an overabundance of free time. But this break is different. She wants to paint a picture. She picks up her paperback. It's a story about Mary's journey through Purgatorio. Oh, so that's the story she was reading. She's surrounded by a rabbit, a sheep, and an angel. There's nothing like salvation in the story, but Yukiko finds peace in it. That feeling is probably different than what the author had intended. Even so, she wants to convey the peace she feels in a painting. She wants one other thing as well. She wants to paint her. It's a desire reawakened within Yukiko for the first time in a long while. I wonder who that her Yukiko was referring to was. All of the students stand in the auditorium, and the closing ceremony begins. Yukari is about halfway into one of the rows. Right next to her is Kohane. Yukiko stands behind her. A professor's voice resounds through the auditorium with not a single whisper underneath it. Most of the speech is on advice for the break. It's the standard speech she's tired of hearing. No visiting shopping districts in regular clothing. No going out after dark. No illicit activities with the opposite sex. No this, no that, no nothing. Not that Yukari thinks that any of the rules are worth breaking. Of course, it's winters, so it might be dark out by the time she's done buying groceries for dinner. But she can't imagine there's any reason to prohibit her from doing that. The rules have gotten stricter since last spring, she thinks. A cloud had hung over not only this academy, but several other schools as well for a while. Her brother had said that the impetus for that incident was the pressure put on the minds of the students for such a long time. All Yukari can figure is that they put more pressure on everyone to prevent a relapse of the same sort of incident. Yeah, if we become more strict with the students, surely it won't happen again. Finally. Kohane stretches once their homeroom teacher leaves the classroom. Hey Yukarichi, has your brother left yet? Yes, he left last night. Why? In that case, can I stay over at your house, Yukarichi? Well, I don't mind, but... You don't want to be alone, do you, Yukarichi? That's why I thought I could stay over for you. Right. Considering it happens every so often, she's not particularly uneasy about being alone, but... Thank you, Kohane. Yukari appreciates Kohane's feelings.
Can I invite Yukiko-chan too then? Yes, I don't mind.
She answers, figuring they can lay out 3 or 4 futon in the guest room.
Huh? But... It's fine, you come over too, Yukiko-chan.
Kohane brings Yukiko over.
Tokisaka-san, I need to go home and ask my mother first. Sure, I understand. Alright, Yukiko-chan and I will meet at the station and then head to Yukarichi's house. Okay. Oh, I need to go to Kichijoji as well, so maybe we could all meet up there. Yeah, sounds good. Buying coffee? Yes, I thought I'd pick some up before my brother gets back. At Moonworld? Have you been there? Yes, I like the atmosphere there. Do you mind if we meet there then? Yeah, that sounds good. Sure.
After making their preparations, the 3 of them leave the classroom.
Oh, hello everyone. Sato-san, heading to club activities? Yes. I know. Do you want to stay over at Yukarichi's too, Ayumuchi?
Yukari is about to invite her when Kohane beats her to the punch.
I'm sorry, but I'm busy with my club until the end of the year. Oh yeah? That's a bummer.
Kohane's shoulders slump.
We have art club activities until the end of the year as well, so we may meet on campus. Well, I'll see you then.
Ayumu bows her head and walks off to the kendo hall.
Hey Yukarichi, can I participate in your art club activities too? You're a member, aren't you?
Yeah, I was about to say, aren't you part of the art club? She's never seen her draw anything, of course.
Tokisaka-san, can I too? Yes, of course you can. Thank you. We'll go home and get ready then. Okay, see you later.
After doing a little shopping at the stores near Kichijoji Station, Yukari steps into Moonworld.
Oh, welcome Yukari-chan. Hello. We're out of coffee beans, so I came to buy some. Alright, it'll just be a moment.
Kyoko starts preparing to roast some coffee beans. Yukari sits down on the stool at the end, so as not to be a bother to the other customers.
Here you are.
Kyoko pours her some coffee.
Thank you. Kyoko-san? Yeah? No, it's nothing.
Yukari shakes her head right away. She's a bit bothered by how tired Kyoko looks, but decides that asking her about it won't help. Kyoko is like her brother in that way. She hides it when she's having a hard time. It was the same a long time ago, when Kyoko lost her husband. Even when she was young, she remembers being able to tell that Kyoko was only pretending to be alright and feeling powerless to help. She wonders if her brother has noticed. She should probably ask him indirectly when he returns.
Tokisaka-kun likes his strong, right? Oh, yes, thank you.
The rich smell of coffee wafts over to her from the cup in front of her in the counter. Yukari slowly brings the cup to her lips. It tastes more sour than bitter. The coffee that she drinks at home is more bitter. She wonders if that's what her brother prefers. She scoops up a spoonful of sugar and stirs it in. It should be much easier to drink like this. She glances over at Kyoko roasting the coffee beans. She looks the same as usual, but occasionally she'll sigh, or an extraordinarily tired face will surface. She doubts her brother would notice this. Besides, Kyoko probably acts much stronger in front of her brother. The door opens and Kohane and Yukiko enter.
Thanks for waiting, Yukarichi. Sorry to bother you. Welcome. Please make yourselves comfortable.
The 3 of them move to a table. Kyoko quickly brings them 2 more coffees.
It's on the house. Thanks. Thank you. What should we do for dinner?
Yukari asks them.
As long as it's tasty, I'm up for anything. Oh, except bugs. Right.
The range is suddenly narrowed. How can it be narrowed if they don't want bugs? It is hard to find good bugs in winter, that much is true.
Shall we have boiled tofu? I just have to buy some green onion and tofu. You can eat it, right, Kayahara-san? Yes.
Yukiko nods.
Cod goes well with boiled tofu, so does Chinese cabbage.
Kyoko participates in the conversation as well.
Then we just need some ponzu sauce. Can you eat cod, Kayahara-san? Yes, I think so.
Yukiko nods, looking unsure.
Oh, Fuyumi-san says her daughter won't eat fish or meat.
Yukiko gasps. Yukari supposes that Kyoko must know Yukiko's mother.
Well, you're not allergic to anything, are you? Well, no.
Yukiko's voice tapers off.
You don't need to push yourself. It will be just as good without the fish.
Yukiko shakes her head halfway through Yukari's words.
No, I'll try it. I think I'll be okay. Alright.
She'll have to use all of her skills to make something delicious then, though there isn't much opportunity to show off with simple boiling.
In that case, you should go to the fish shop near here. They might not be perfectly fresh, but they should be cheap at this time. Okay, we'll do that. Shall we be off then?
Kohane stands up after finishing her coffee.
Oh, let's stay a little longer.
Yukari says, sitting Kohane down when she notices that Yukiko hasn't finished her coffee yet.
Thanks.
Yukiko whispers to her, so that only Yukari can hear. The three of them leave the shop.
Let's go to the fish shop then. Maybe salmon would be good too,
Kohane proposes.
Perhaps.
Yukiko injects timidly.
What is it, Yukiko-chan? I think we should get cod. That's what she said to use. Yes, I think you're right. But what about my salmon? Let's use cod this time. If they're sold out, we can get salmon instead.
Today, she wants to make what Yukiko wants. She thinks that will make her happy.
That was good.
Kohane rolls around on the floor after they're done eating their boiled tofu.
That's bad manners, Kohane. I'm so full. If you lie down right after you eat, you'll turn into a cow. Wouldn't want that.
Kohane sits up.
Tokisaka-san, is this kelp edible? I used it for the stock, so it probably wouldn't be very good. Maybe I could pickle it. I see. What is it, Yukiko-chan? You want to grow more hair? Huh?
Yukiko gets flustered when Kohane calls out to her.
But Yukiko-chan's hair is so long and pretty. Oh, is it a different sort of hair you want? Huh?
Yukiko seems to be struggling to understand.
Okay, I have to clean up the pot.
Yukari ends the conversation, putting pot holders on both her hands.
I've drawn the bath, so let's all take turns with it, okay? Hey, Yukarichi, how big's your bath? It's not that big.
But it's spacious enough for Yukari to extend her legs comfortably.
Teehee.
Kohane smiles rather enigmatically.
Come on, we're all girls, just take it off.
Oh god, I don't like where this is going. Fan service.
But, I'm embarrassed. There are washcloths over there. Feel free to use them. Thank you. Yeah. Well, get a load of these. Wait, stop. Yeah. Kohane, if you don't get in soon, you'll catch a cold. Fine, you get in too, Yukiko-chan. You didn't even let me take off my clothes.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely fan service. Yukari sits down on a stool and washes herself. Kohane and Yukiko are sitting in the tub.
Whoa, they seriously float when they're that big. No, please don't look. Can I touch them a little? You've been touching them for a while now already.
Yeah, that's some sexual harassment.
Then it's okay, right? No, it's... Kohane, she doesn't like it, so let it go. Oh, everyone knows that no means yes. Actually, it means no. Oh, really now?
Yukari dumps some water over her shoulder and washes off the soap suds.
You got some nice skin too, Yukarichi. You think so?
Yukari raises an arm and gazes at her skin. She doesn't think it looks any different than anyone else's.
I don't do anything special to it. You don't have slugs or leeches that eat your old skin or something? Leeches are carnivorous, but slugs aren't, and neither of them do that anyway. So how did you get that big, Yukiko-chan? I don't know.
Yukiko hides her chest behind her arms. They certainly are big. Yukari can't help taking a glance at her own chest. She realizes right away that it's pointless to compare them.
The lady at Moonworld has big ones too. She's always been like that. Huh? Is she going out with your brother or anything?
Yukari considers Kohane's question for a moment. Kyoko has always been close to her brother, ever since Yukari was very young. Of course, her brother had his fiancée, Yukiko, and Kyoko had a husband as well. They both lost their partners, and now her brother frequents Moonworld. Would one call that going out? Yukari doesn't really understand the subtleties of relationships like that.
I don't think so.
That's Yukari's answer, though she isn't really sure herself. She doesn't think they have a relationship that could be classified as either dating or not dating.
Huh? Really? That shop is really nice, isn't it?
Yukiko mutters absent-mindedly from the bathtub.
Yes, it is. You like her, huh, Yukiko-chan? Yes, well, it's more like I look up to her. I wonder if that's 'cause you're birds of a feather.
Kohane pokes Yukiko in the chest.
Yeah.
More sexual harassment.
Do you swing that way, Yukiko-chan? Which way? You know, like, you want to call her big sister or something. I don't.
Yukiko thinks Kohane seems much more likely to swing that way as she keeps touching Yukiko's chest, but she decides to keep quiet about that. Yeah, that's true. She's being rather overly familiar with her. They get out of the bath and lay on their futon in Yukari's room.
Phew, that felt good. Kohane, you should probably stop moving your hands like that. It felt good, didn't it, Yukiko-chan?
Kohane asks a question that could easily be misinterpreted, but Yukiko doesn't really react. Yukari supposes that's natural.
Phew.
Yukiko got completely dizzy in the bath.
Are you alright?
She pours some cold water into a cup and hands it to Yukiko.
Yes, thanks.
Yukiko thanks her, cheeks flushed.
You went too far, Kohane.
She scolds Kohane a little.
I'm sorry, Yukiko-chan.
Kohane apologizes sincerely.
No, it's fine.
Yukiko shakes her head.
I feel a lot better now, thank you. You probably shouldn't lie down right away, though. Let's talk about boys then, boys!
Kohane leans in excitedly, though Yukari fails to see how the subject came up.
That's what we're supposed to do, right, Yukari-chi? It's not like we've got anyone to discuss, though.
Yukari answers honestly, no one coming to mind.
Oh, come on. What about the guy who was here the day before yesterday? The day before yesterday? You mean Masaki-san?
Yukari tilts her head.
You gave him a present, didn't you? That was because he's taking care of my brother, and they're going someplace cold. A likely story. It's a little troubling that you doubt me, but what about you, Kohane? Me? No,
Kohane says right away.
You don't meet anybody at a girls' school, right? All the male teachers are old grandpa. All I could talk about is way back in the past. So there was someone in your past? Yeah, but it was seriously when I was a kid. I just had an older boy I looked up to. What was he like?
Yukiko enters the conversation.
What was he like? You don't remember? We used to play together. I'm sorry.
Yukiko hangs her head.
Well, I kinda figured.
Yukari remembers Yukiko saying earlier that she didn't remember Kohane.
What about you then, Yukiko-chan? Huh? Me? When it comes to girls, you like the lady at Moonworld, but what about boys? I don't know. Yukari-chi's brother is a good deal right now. Please don't refer to my brother as if he's on bargain sale.
Though he is approaching his expiration date, Yukari thinks to herself.
Tokisaka-san's brother.
Yukiko puts a finger to her chin and thinks.
He's not dating anyone. Maybe you should go for it. Uh-huh.
Yukari decides to keep quiet for the moment. Her brother isn't dating anyone, it's true, but she knows that he's still pursuing a woman. She doubts anyone will be able to take her place in his heart. That's how much control she has over him.
What you think, Yukari-chi?
Yukari comes back to herself when she hears Kohane's voice.
Huh? About what? Are you sleepy? I asked if you thought Yukiko-chan and your brother would be a good match. Well...
Yukiko stares straight at her. She and the missing girl are similar. That's why Yukari wanted to approach her in the first place.
Tokisaka-san? Yes? Please don't stare. It's embarrassing.
Yukiko hangs her head, her face red. Hey, you're the one staring at us.
Oh, is Yukari-chi a target too? No, that's not true.
Yukiko just keeps making herself smaller. She's overjoyed being able to have normal conversations like this with Yukiko as her friend. When they first met, Yukiko seemed like she wouldn't let anyone become close to her.
We should get to bed.
Yukari ends their conversation. She turns out the light and the three of them lie down. They hear Kohane fall asleep right away, as if she's run out of fuel.
Tokisaka-san, are you awake? I am.
Yukari rolls over to face Yukiko when she hears her voice.
I had a good friend at the school I used to go to.
Yukiko starts whispering.
She was really nice to me when I didn't have any friends, but she suddenly passed away.
Yukari has heard this story before. There was a rumor that went around right after she moved here. A rumor that Yukiko had killed her friend.
It's alright.
Yukari reaches out of her futon and over to Yukiko. Yukiko timidly takes Yukari's hand.
It's alright. I'll always be by your side. Thank you.
Yukari falls asleep with their fingers intertwined. Toji is in her office, grappling with some documents she had just received. Now Yaginuma wants her to look into these unlawful clinical trials. First, she'll have to find proof that the Blessed Congregation had a hand in these trials. This is why Toji has been investigating where the congregation's money has been coming from. If they're involved in the clinical trials, some third party such as a doctor or a hospital must be involved. And if a third party is involved, there should be monetary exchange between them. But if most of its members are motivated by faith, the entire organization, especially its higher-ups, isn't. They're motivated by a desire for prestige or money. Looking at their account books makes that much clear. The Blessed Congregation accepts donations from its members. All sorts of numbers representing individual donations adorn the pages, from tens of yen to thousands. She doesn't know the details as the names of the donors aren't written down, but there are a few unusual points. 20 different people donated 5,000 yen on a single day. This is clearly a division of single 100,000 yen donation. Of course, she has no proof. Toji lights a cigarette.
Phew.
Sweet smoke rises from her mouth. A donation of 100,000 yen. A few times a year, the same amount is donated. From what Toji has learned, most of the Blessed Congregation's faithful are poor. Considering the story of how they took in Senri's faithful, it's difficult to believe that they had 20 members who were able to donate a whole month's wage like this. It looks like these donations started around 1952. Apparently, donations of roughly 60,000 to 80,000 are being broken up and recorded separately. Are they using this money to support their needy members? But there's also evidence to the contrary. Leaving her cigarette in an ashtray, Toji flips the expenses section of the account book and finds that much of their funds are being transferred to another organization. No, perhaps organization is the wrong word. It's a corporation of the same conglomeration as the Blessed Congregation. This must be the small jobs Utsugi Keigo probably told her about. The corporation runs a money-lending business. So they lend out money they collect from donations. It's just Toji shot in the dark, but they probably lend to the faithful with low interest rates, and lend to anyone else with high rates. This sort of individual money lending is all too common now that banks can't give loans to individuals because of the post-war reconstruction. There are plenty of fishy sorts doing this sort of lending too, since the laws haven't really progressed to keep up with it. But it looks like this corporation the Blessed Congregation created is paying its taxes properly. They would be under no obligation to pay taxes if they had remained a religious organization. But since they've split into a for-profit entity and are paying taxes accordingly, it either means they're being managed decently or they're trying to look as if they are. The Blessed Congregation also owns some charitable social service organizations. Hospitals and orphanages, for instance. These are things they didn't have as Senri. There must be funds flowing to them as well. Toji supposes that if they're involved with illicit clinical trials, this is probably where. The cigarette in her ashtray has already gone out. She puts a new one in her mouth. Before she has time to light it, the phone starts ringing. She sets down her lighter and picks up the phone.
Hello, this is Aoki. Hey, Toji-kun, it's been a while.
A familiar voice cuts Toji off from the other end of the phone.
Nana?
Takashiro Nana, the younger sister of Takashiro Shoujo, her old friend the detective.
Need something? No, not really. I just called to find out what's going on with you. You're the same as always.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Kagoshima right now. It's so nice in the south. It's the end of the year, yet it's still so warm. Ah, that's right. In Kumamoto, there's the shrine called the Motomura Shrine. The god of miso, right? Indeed, their main shrine was just repaired from the war this year, so I had to go see it right away. That's cute, Nana. I went to see it in May when it was just finished. I should have known you wouldn't miss it, Toji-kun. Of course. Incidentally, Nana, you said you were in Kagoshima? Don't worry, I've already sent some Satsuma miso to your office. I see. Thanks. When are you coming back? I don't intend to return anytime soon. It suits me better to wander the countryside like this. I see. Don't cause people too much trouble, alright? I'm the one people are causing trouble for. Nobody ever thanks me for all the cases I solve.
Toji figures that's because there's a problem with the way she's solving them, but she keeps that thought to herself.
You've got quite the troublesome case yourself over there, don't you, Toji-kun? I heard something related to the remnants of Senri. I'm surprised you know about that. It was in the newspaper, and since Shugo's all cooped up in the countryside, it's only natural that you get involved. Ah, wait, there was that police inspector too, wasn't there?
Yagino is technically a superintendent, but she finds it too pedantic to correct Nana.
You don't plan on helping us out, do you? I'm too far away. I don't intend to play armchair detective. That's why I'm off on this journey. I see. Got it. But I'll tell you one thing. Shugo should have some info on Senri. You should ask him about it.
I see. Got it.
Well then, good day, Toji-kun.
Phew. Well, at least Nana's somewhere else and she's not actively involved in this. Setting down the receiver, Toji finally lights her cigarette. Nana seemed the same as ever. Yeah, I don't think she'd ever really change. Toji did want to get her help on this investigation, but if she's in Kyushu, there's not much she can do. Instead, she'll ask for help from her brother, who's a bit closer. Toji picks up the phone and decides to call Takashiro Shugo while he's staying in Zushi. After Kohane and Yukiko leave, Yukari decides to start cleaning the house. She sweeps the dust off the top of the doors. She doesn't have a fashionable electric vacuum cleaner, but this isn't something that should require that much work anyway. She gathers up the dust that's fallen into the dustpan and throws it away. She wipes off the previously dusty surfaces with a wet rag. She repeats this basic process. The water is cold, so she pours some boiling water into it to make things easier. Yukari cleans swiftly and efficiently. She takes her cleaning supplies into her brother's room. Unlike his perpetually messy office in Shinjuku, this room is relatively tidy.
Alright then.
She cleans up the furniture in the room and sprinkles damp tea leaves over the tatami. She then sweeps along the grain of the tatami, collecting all the dust along with the tea leaves. Last, she takes a warm wet rag and wipes the tatami as if stroking it.
Phew.
When she takes a short rest, she finds a sketchbook stuck between two shelves.
What's this?
For a second, Yukari wonders why one of her things is in her brother's room. However, this isn't something that belonged to Yukari. She picks up the sketchbook and gasps. Kuchiki Toko is written on the cover. Is this something he received after her disappearance? Yukari flips through the pages with a complicated feeling. Most of it is sketches, but they're all beautiful to Yukari. She's seen her drawings a few times before. There's even a portrait of her best friend, who's gone now. She closes the sketchbook. There's a pain in her chest, perhaps because of how well done the sketches are. When she thinks about her brother hanging on to this, she can't help but think he's caught up in some obsession stemming from her. Yukiko's eyes open. She breathes out when she realizes that she's in her familiar room. She had a very bad dream. It's not terribly warm inside her futon, but her pajamas cling to her with sweat. She doesn't feel well. It's all because of that dream she had. She moves her heavy body and gets out of her bed. I should probably go to the hospital, Yukiko thinks to herself. But she can't. She has club activities today. She peels off her sweaty pajamas. The cold morning air of winter caresses her bare skin. Wiping off her sweat, she gets dressed. Her head feels heavy. Maybe I'll feel a little more awake if I wash my face.
Morning, Yukiko.
Yes, morning.
Oh, did you catch a cold? You don't look too good.
No, I'm fine. I'm gonna go wash my face. Yukiko passes through the living room to wash her face in the kitchen. Her foggy head clears up with the cold water and she begins to feel more awake. Phew.
Yukiko, can you eat breakfast?
Yes, I can. She turns around and answers her mother, then sits at the dining table. There's a bowl of rice and some grilled sardines. Thank you. Thanking her mother for breakfast, she picks up her chopsticks. Sardines, if they're this small, Yukiko is pretty sure she'll be able to eat them. The amount of small bones in them annoys her, though. Hey, Yukiko. What is it? Yukiko stops her chopsticks and looks up.
I asked you before to bring your friends to help out at the daycare, right?
Yes. It was more than a month ago. She said she'd need help at the end of the year, since they were short-staffed, but... I'm sorry, Fuyumi mutters.
I told you I didn't need any help and that you should make friends anyway, but... You need help? Yeah.
Fuyumi hangs her head.
The person I usually ask to help had to go home, so it's just me by myself tomorrow. Tomorrow?
That's so sudden.
I'm sorry. I know it's short notice, but I'm begging you.
Seeing her mother bow her head to her like this makes Yukiko frown, truly flustered.
I can ask, but they're probably busy, so I don't know if they'll be able to.
She warns. She has club activities, but she's not sure whether or not she'll be able to ask. If she can't, she'll just have to go by herself.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
After breakfast, Yukiko returns to her room and prepares to go out. Her art tools are back at school, however, so all she really has to do is put the book she's been reading in her bag. The most preparation she has to do is in her heart. How can she ask those two? Especially for such a big favor as helping out at a daycare. She's not confident in her ability. Maybe she should tell her mother that they were busy and she could go alone tomorrow. But she doesn't want to lie to her mother like that. She'll try to ask them, though she doesn't know if it will go well or not. Yukari sets her canvas on her easel and gazes at it from a short distance. A forest landscape. It's a sketch of the park she drew in summer that she's now colored. Looking at it now, she thinks it's a little dark.
Say, Kohane. Yeah?
Kohane looks up from a book of Saikien's paintings. Saikien's? Saikien? Saikien was an 18th century Oki artist, famous for his artwork of yokai or supernatural monsters.
What do you think of this painting? What do I think? I think it looks pretty. Do you think it's a little dark? Now that you mention it, maybe it is. What about you, Yukiko-chan? Huh?
Yukiko looks up from an art book.
I don't know much about painting, so...
Yukiko shakes her head, flustered.
How about, it's Yukarichi's painting, but it doesn't have any bugs in it. I'm not always painting bugs, you know.
That's because it's difficult to capture the colors of insects with oil paints, so she's been avoiding it.
I think it'd be nice with light coming through the trees or something. Light through the trees.
She looks at her painting again. It's true that there's not enough light coming from the sky. God damn, she's really good at that, by the way. Holy shit. She closes her eyes and recalls the park in summer. The rustling of the trees, the shadows moving with the light. She can see the beams of light shining down too.
You're right,
Yukari agrees. She wasn't expressing the summer sunlight well enough.
Thank you, Kaihara-san. No, I'm sorry for being so presumptuous.
Yukiko looks down and shakes her head.
That's not true.
Yukari laughs and denies her apology.
I drew it, so I couldn't look very objectively at it. Is that how it works?
Kohane crosses her arms and looks at the painting.
Yeah, you're not really expressing the summer sunlight too well. That's what Kaihara-san just said.
Yukiko laughs.
I'll see if I can fix it. You're gonna draw it again? It's more like revising it from the top.
Yukari responds, taking out her art supplies.
To express the sunlight coming through the trees, I can put bright lines on it with the knife. A knife? You're gonna cut it? It's not that kind of knife. It's like a spatula that you use for painting. Oh? What's wrong? I must have forgotten it at home.
She had brought them home after the closing ceremony to wash them. She must have forgotten them there.
Is that something else?
Kohane points to a spatula with a round tip among Yukari's tools.
That's called a palette knife. Strictly speaking, it has a different use, but...
What Yukari has left at home is a painting knife. She thinks it would be easier to express light with the pointed tip of the painting knife, but she has no choice in this situation.
Tokisaka-san?
Yukiko squeezes out the words.
Yes? I have one. A painting knife.
Yukiko holds out a knife with a shape like an iron.
Are you sure?
It looks new to her.
Yes, I don't know how to use it anyway. I'd be happy if you showed me how to use it. Alright.
She accepts the painting knife.
You use it like this to scrape off the paint.
Yukari scratches at the surface of her painting with the knife. The pointed painting knife easily shaves off the paint Yukari had used to color the piece.
And then, see, the color you first painted on comes through.
The first coat of white comes through.
Huh? This looks a little more like lightning than sunlight, though.
With a wry smile, Yukari uses a brush to smooth out the line that was shaved off.
You can also use these if you blot out an area with too much paint. So that's how you use it. Though I've never learned from an expert myself, so I might be wrong.
Yukari says, shaving off the leaves growing thickly on the trees as she speaks.
You're amazing,
Yukiko murmurs.
I am not.
Yukari laughs, denying it.
There are a lot of people who are better than me.
She remembers the sketchbook she saw in her brother's room yesterday. She wonders if she can reach that level.
Tokisaka-san? Yes?
Yukari raises her head. Yukiko's expression suggests that she wants to say something.
What is it?
She tilts her head. The door opens.
Hello, everyone. Oh, it's Ayamuchi. On a club break?
Kohane walks up to Ayamu when she comes in.
Yes, it's already past noon, so I thought I'd have lunch.
Ayamu holds up a small lunchbox.
I suppose you're right. We should have lunch as well.
Yukari stands up and heads over to the sink at the back of the classroom.
Oh, I have to wash your knife too. It's fine. You can do it later.
Yukiko shakes her head.
I'm sure I won't be using it, so... I'll make sure I wash it before giving it back to you. I'll teach you more about using it then too.
Yukari needs to do some studying on the uses of painting knives herself. She wants to learn a little more, do some practice with it, and then teach Yukiko how to use it.
Thank you. Let's wash our hands and have lunch. Okay.
Yukari washes her hands with Yukiko and she takes her lunch out of her bag.
Come to think of it, Kaihara-san, you had something to say earlier, right?
She asks, remembering Yukiko's expression just before Ayamu came in.
No, it's nothing. Kaihara-san.
Yukari stops opening her lunchbox and turns to face Yukiko instead.
Yes? You don't have to hesitate, okay? Huh? We're friends, so if you want to say something, please don't hesitate to say it. But...
Yukiko stutters. That's all it takes for Yukari to realize that she has something to say.
Yukiko-chan, did you want to ask us something?
Is something the matter? Kohane and Ayamu join in. This won't do.
Give her a minute, you two.
Yukari stops the two of them and slowly puts her hands on Yukiko's shoulders while they look on, worried.
Tokisaka-san. It's alright. There's no need to rush. Just calm down and take a deep breath. Okay.
Yukiko takes some deep breaths. Giving her too much attention will only make her nervous, Yukari thinks. She needs to make sure Yukiko is comfortable enough to talk to them when she wants to say something.
Phew.
Yukiko puts her hand to her chest and gets her breathing under control.
Would you like some tea?
Yukari takes out a thermos.
Oh, yes please. It might be cold by now though.
She fills the thermos cup with tea.
Here you are. Thank you. I want some too.
If you'd like something to drink, I have this. Aimu offers her thermos to Kohane before Yukari can.
Thanks, Ayamuchi.
Kohane spits it all out.
What is this salt water? It's important to replenish your salt content after exercising. Was it not to your liking? Well, I need some water. I've already had some of this, but...
Yukiko hands her cup to Kohane.
Thanks. Phew.
Yukiko cracks a smile. That incident must have relaxed her.
I wanted to ask you something.
Yukiko starts. Jesus Christ. I would kind of get a little bit annoyed with Yukiko. It's like, you can just say it. Come on. You've been trying to say it for like, how long now? Just come out with it. She explains that her mother works at a daycare. She explains that there won't be enough people tomorrow. She explains that she was asked to find some helpers. Yukiko explains it all, rather falteringly, but clearly.
Please tell me if you can't do it. I'm grateful enough that you listened.
Yukiko's face is bright red as she hangs her head. Her shoulders tremble ever so slightly.
I'm free tomorrow. I don't mind. What about you, Kohane? Well, I'm free, so it's fine.
She doesn't sound terribly enthusiastic, but Kohane agrees as well.
Sato-san, are you busy with your club?
Yukari guesses from the slightly grim expression Ayamu turns to her with.
I am. I'm sorry, Kaihara-senpai. Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yukiko waves her hands like she's troubled.
Where is the daycare? It's called New Leaf Garden, and I think it's south of Musashi Kogane Station. Then should we meet in front of Musashi Kogane Station? Guess so.
Kohane nods.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yukiko bows her head.
Actually, I have some personal interest in this subject,
Yukari murmurs.
Ever since I was young, I've only ever had adults around me. Never anyone younger than me, so I've always wanted to be something like an older sister.
Last summer, a couple she knew had a baby together. It was so small and cute. She always wondered if she would be blessed with a child like that one day. She wondered and wondered about it, and didn't know. She isn't good at thinking about those sorts of things.
Technically, I'm younger than all of you.
Although she does look kind of older because of how tall she is.
I think it'd be a little hard to be a big sister to you, Aimuchi.
Yeah, she kind of looks like she's everybody's big sister. In the evening, Toji looks over the documents sent to her through express delivery. They're about Senri, the Blessed Congregation's predecessor. They were sent to her by Takashiro Shoujo, who was involved with the organization at the time and now resides in Zushi. Shoujo had continued to collect information about them even after the incident, and the dates on some of these documents are relatively recent. Officially, Senri disbanded in February of 1951. On that day, the Senri compound went up in flames and the people manipulating the organization died. The vessel of Senri certainly did die. Their leader remained alive, and many faithful were left behind. The woman who had led the organization was taken in by new vessels, Toji and Shoujo. But as for the remaining faithful, specifically the man named Oribe Tokihiro, created a new, or perhaps recreated the old, vessel of the Blessed Congregation. Shugo's documents include information regarding that. Toji sets the documents down and picks up the phone. Holding the receiver between her shoulder and cheek, she spins the dial. Yes, hello? Shoujo, it's me. Hearing a familiar voice, Toji cuts in. What, is this that new scam? Ore fraud. A popular method of telephone fraud in Japan in which con artists trick people, usually the naive elderly, out of large amounts of cash by pretending to be an acquaintance in need of some emergency funds. The phone conversation usually starts with ore, or it's me, when the victim assumes someone they know is calling them. The con artist fools them into handing over cash to a third party, actually the scammer or an accomplice, to get out of some desperate imaginary trouble. Oh god, that sounds so much like this sort of kind of like modern day, the fraud they're still doing right now, because that kind of thing happens a lot too. Cut the joke, Shoujo. I want to ask you about the documents you sent me. Oh, it's Toji. You hadn't realized? Were you investigating Oribe Tokihiro? Oribe? Ah, the guy who went around recruiting and supporting Senri Faithful. Apparently their new organization doesn't have a founder per se. It doesn't have a founder? Oribe's the representative though, right? Doesn't that make him something like the founder? Senri's predecessor, was it the Congregation of the Blessed? They're worshipping the founder of that one, I guess. Tokiko's father, Shigusa Michio, I think. I think I've heard some bad things about this fellow. He was seducing female followers or something. Yeah, but before that, apparently he was a great religious leader. Guess his greed just drove him to crazy stuff. You should be careful too. Don't worry about me, I'm fighting to protect my family here. Are you now? She should probably refrain from mentioning his past behavior. Man, you really change when you have kids. The little one looks just like Kazuna, so cute. It's a good thing the kid doesn't look like you. Nah, she's got some of my features. Her eyes look just like mine, actually. Can I hang up? She's not sure how much more of this she can stomach. No, wait. That's right. There's another guy besides Oribe, right? Utsugi Keigo? Yeah, that guy. He was an accountant for Senri too, and he managed most of their funds. Oh? At the time, the leaders of Senri had no scruples about collecting funds. There's a good chance those funds have made their way to the Blessed Congregation now. Do you know if he was a doctor or anything like that? She thinks this might lead into the clinical trial connection, but... No, I haven't heard anything like that. Know anything else? Let's see. I've heard that Shigusa Michio used some spell or custom from his hometown to start his religion. I see. Sorry about all this, Shoujo. I know you're busy raising your kid. She realizes her mistake immediately after she said it. Right? She cries every night, and Kazuna won't keep me company, but she's really cute. Her eyes look just like... You said that already. I'm gonna hang up, okay? Right. Toji, be careful. Yeah. She hangs up the phone and takes a coffee break. The beans are from a coffee shop called Moonworld Tokisaka introduced her to. She's almost out of them. She should go restock before the year's end. Toji pours her coffee, such thoughts going through her head. Phew. Bringing the cup to her lips and enjoying the rich flavor of the coffee, Toji gazes down at the mess of papers on her desk. A spell or custom, huh? Something of the sort remained during the organization's time as Senri. Though it was no spell, she sees the word Shigusa Shrine among the documents. It stated that it's Shigusa Michio's family home, a shrine in the Toyama Prefecture. This is the location of the Shigusa Shrine. Toyama Prefecture, West Tonami District, Hitogata Settlement. Damn it. She clucks her tongue without thinking. That's exactly where those two just went, isn't it? Well, at least we found a connection. Somewhat of a connection, at least. After leaving the night prior, it takes us a full day of travel to finally arrive at our destination. It's pitch black. The final bus that took us here departs, and we're surrounded by darkness. Well, what do you expect? Nobody walks around after sunset. This place hasn't changed at all. Homesick? Not exactly. Masaki gets a better grip on his luggage. The inn is this way. Outsiders stand out a lot here, so we should probably lay low tonight. That's the police station, right? The Toyama police said the investigator in charge of the case is already here, so shouldn't we go say hi? I ask him, pointing at a building with a red light. I don't really want to see him if I can get away with it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be like, oh hey, here's the murderer. Masaki mutters, then starts walking. I shrug and follow him. It's hard to walk on all this snow. I should have brought some rubber boots. Even regular boots would probably be an improvement, actually. Well, unless they covered up, unless they hid it, were able to even hide it from Inui, that it was Ayato that killed Ayato killed Saya. I follow after Masaki slowly, careful not to fall. The insides of my shoes are wet after just a little bit of walking. Please don't make a scene. I don't want to cause any trouble. I know. I'm tempted to bean him with a snowball from behind, but I'll restrain myself. Mostly because my fingers are starting to go numb, and I don't want to take them out of my pockets. Masaki stops before a large building. This is the place. I look up to see a steep thatched roof covered in snow and the words Futami Yen on a sign above the entrance. How charming. Charm is all it's got going for it. Masaki steps aside and lets me pass him. I should probably do the talking if we're going to try to hide his identity. I'm not so sure we're going to be able to do that, though. I brush the snow off of me and enter. Excuse me, I called about getting a room today. Tokisaka... Coming. I call into the building and an elderly woman slowly emerges from inside.
Write your name and address in that book. Your companions as well.
The old woman points at the reception desk. I flip through the book and write down my name and address. I write in Masaki's name, too.
Tokyo, huh?
The woman snorts at us distastefully.
The room's on the end down there.
I guess she doesn't intend to guide us there. Sorry, but I'd like to dry my shoes.
Oh, just leave them there. They'll dry.
Want much? I take off my shoes and step up onto the floor. Let's go. Masaki follows me wordlessly. I'm guessing he's avoiding making eye contact with the old woman because she knows Hinagami Aito, but he's acting pretty suspicious.
Don't cause any trouble now.
The old woman mutters as she leaves. Well, she actually didn't recognize him. Phew. I set down my luggage and I'm finally able to take a breather. I take my socks off right away to dry them. I got them a few times in Manchuria, but chilblains are rough. You seem pretty relaxed. Masaki snaps at me. Well, I don't have any reason to hide, unlike you. I answer, massaging my toes. I suppose you're right. You're not going to stop by your house? No, I don't intend to. Please go to the police in my house by yourself, Tokisaka-san. Well, that'd probably be for the best. From what you told me on the train, this settlement sure is secluded. The Hinagami and Shigusa families control the Hitogata settlement. And the Shigusa shrine had connections to Senri, too. I knew the Shigusa family had a son named Michio, but I had no idea he was doing that sort of thing in Tokyo. You were in Tokyo too, weren't you? You didn't think anything about the case at the time? I asked him, holding my hands up in front of the hibachi. I saw a little about it in the paper, but I didn't know much about the details. Well, I guess that makes sense. Shigusa Michio wasn't behind the Senri incident anyway. Was the Shigusa Shrine involved in the establishment of Senri? It was taboo talk about the eldest son with the Shigusa family, and all they said was that he disappeared. He probably went off and did it on his own, don't you think? We'll probably have to ask him about that later. Though we should avoid asking about it directly, of course.
Excuse me.
We hear a voice from outside of the room. Masaki stiffens. Yes? I wave Masaki to the back of the room and move to the door.
Please excuse me.
A woman who must be on the staff opens the door and bows deeply before entering the room.
My name is Futami Yu. Thank you so much for staying at our inn tonight.
She bows again. Well, her head is down. I look over at Masaki. His head is down too. They look about the same age. Do they know each other?
May I offer you anything to eat? We don't have anything extraordinary, but...
Yeah, just a little would be good. You okay with that, Masaki? Yes.
Very well. Please wait a moment.
He's lucky she didn't really even bother to, look over at him. She, Futami Yu, leaves the room. Masaki sighs deeply. Know each other? Yes. Do you think she noticed? How should I know? She probably wouldn't have had time to, though. She wasn't particularly nosy. Maybe she just didn't want to get involved with some suspicious guys from Tokyo. Well, who can say what'll happen after this, though?
Please excuse me.
Yu comes back.
Your food will be ready soon. Is there anything else you need?
Could you warm up some sake for us? And I'd be grateful if you could answer some questions of mine.
What would you like to know?
She asks stiffly. I guess it's natural to be wary of us. I just have some questions about the settlement. It might be difficult to get her to answer me, but I decide to shoot her some questions anyway.
You said you came from Tokyo, sir. Are you with the police?
I hesitate for a moment. I'm doing something similar, and I do have the cooperation of the police here, but... What makes you think that?
Because...
This time she pauses for a moment.
I heard a good friend of mine died in Tokyo.
Yu mutters.
Aren't you here investigating about her? About Meguri?
Well, it's something like that. I give her a vague response that's close to an affirmation.
I thought so.
She looks toward Masaki for a moment. Do you mind if I ask you a few things about that? I speak to her to distract her from Masaki.
If it's within my power to answer, certainly.
Yu bows her head. Thank you. It may seem unrelated to the matter at hand, but would you tell me about this settlement?
I don't mind, but...
This time, she looks behind her, toward the hallway of the inn. She looks pretty cautious of her surroundings.
Go ahead.
Are there any problems occurring in the settlement right now? Outside of Takemiya Meguri-san's death, that is. My voice naturally gets quieter as well.
It might not be a problem per se, but...
With that preface, Yu looks over at Masaki again.
I heard that the missing eldest son of the Hinagami family was found and that they're discussing what to do with their heir now.
Yeah, she's noticed. Her explanation is abridged and not the sort of thing you'd say to someone hearing about this for the first time. At the very least, she's assuming we have a certain amount of knowledge already. And the Hinagami family is? That's precisely why I ask.
An important family in this settlement. I thought you'd be investigating that as well.
She looks at Masaki again. I apologize. I know the basics, but I haven't heard much about the state of affairs here in recent years. I deliberately use the phrase recent years.
I suppose that makes sense.
Yu sighs.
Now that they've found the successor of the Hinagami family, they're trying to prepare his wedding. I heard Meguri was a candidate for his bride.
By candidate, do you mean to say there were others? I ask her another question before she can look at Masaki again.
That's what I've heard.
Yu hangs her head. I look over at Masaki. He's looking down stiffly.
I'll bring you your meal.
Thank you. Sorry for keeping you.
It's fine.
Yu stands. I'm sorry, but could you keep what you've seen and heard here a secret? I don't think there's any need to worry, but I remind her anyway.
Very well. Please excuse me then.
Yu leaves. Masaki gives a colossal sigh. She seemed clever. Well, she always had her nose in a book. I'm sure she realized who you were. I don't think there's any need to worry, since she's promised secrecy, but... Naturally, there's no telling how long we can keep him hidden anyway. Masaki should probably stay in the inn as much as he can. Well, before we do anything. First, let's eat some fine food. You really are shameless, aren't you, Tokisaka-san? Masaki mutters exasperatedly.